Mike, mandatory minicamp. This is the week. This is a week that probably they up at Flowery Branch, I'm talking about the Falcons, get more work done than they have with mandatory minicamp where you're trying to install stuff and get guys acclimated, and then a rookie camp, should I say. And then you had OTAs, which we were up there last week, and Arthur Smith sat down with this. We talked to Jake Matthews and Drake London. But this is a week where this is like your last opportunity to put in whatever you think you need to have in before we get back to training camp. Because once we get to training camp, and Arthur Smith said this to us, guys, I don't know if he said it on the air, if he was just talking to us, Mike, but how much install stuff is going on. And he talked about Desmond Ridder and putting pressure on Dez and trying to make sure that he sees some of the stuff that he's going to see as they gear up for the season. It is hard to emulate a lot of that stuff without pads, but you do as much as you can. And he's got to throw in the smaller windows, and he's got to be accurate, Mike. And those are the things that they're looking for right now with Desmond Ridder.
So all you can do is try to create, as you just laid out, as many in-game situation mental reps. So here's that. I know it's mental reps. Yeah, but it means something, especially when you're a guy who's got limited experience like Desmond Ridder. Just 4 games under his belt, as you guys know. Expectations through the roof, certainly from us and from Falcon fans. So how else is he going to do it? We did get that sense, and I know by now you've heard the interview that Carl mentioned with Arthur Smith. He's got confidence in this guy. And when we talk about Ridder, I just bring it back. And I had this conversation at the gym today with Rick, who's a big Falcon fan. He's staking his job on this. You know what I mean?
You're talking about Coach Smith.
Coach Smith. Yeah. And to a lesser extent, Terry Fontenot. If they didn't believe all the weapons, you spend that much money, over $180 million, in at least the guaranteed contracts they gave out in the offseason, and you're telling me that he would not, maybe. No, he's committed to this guy. And if this doesn't work, it's going to blow back in their faces. Hopefully that's never going to be the case.
No doubt. Now, the one thing we need to do better, and the Falcons, we've said this time and time again, we'll say it now, we'll say it in September. We need to get into the end zone. We love Younghoe Koo. He's come on the show numerous times. I just want him kicking extra points. I don't need him kicking field goal after field goal because you're not going to win games like that in the NFL. And so we need to get the ball in the end zone in the first half. Here's the crazy thing, Mike. That is out there about only 4 teams last season, all right, that outscored their opponents in the first half. They outscored their opponents in 12 of 17 games in the second half, but only 4 times last season did we do it in the first half. And my point is, how many times do we talk about either slow starts or not putting the ball in the end zone or going in at half down, Mike? And then, you talk about, well, are we able to score more consistently when we get those opportunities early in games? This is why they went the way they did in the draft. This is why they drafted Bijan. Now, I'm not saying he's the end-all of end-alls, but, Mike, adding him to what we already have, I think this is part of the makeup of what Arthur Smith wants. How do we get it in the end zone more in the first half? And then, you talk about this stat that's out there, only four times last season they outscored their opponents in the first half. That's just not enough.
No, and it's one of those things, how much of that you want to chalk up to, what we saw with Mariota. But eventually you did get Ridder out there. And then, and Matt, let's be honest, look, and I don't want to make this all about Mariota. Part of the reason that some guys are still lukewarm about Matt, amongst other things, we settled for a lot of field goals.
Yes.
And I know, winning a football game, who cares how you won it? They're covered behind victories. Sometimes it's come behind victory with field goals. It's Matt Bryant. It's Younghoe Koo. Some guys get in the end zone. One thing for certain, the red zone has got to improve, just to double down on what you're throwing out there with the first half scoring. We were middle of the pack guys last year. We were better. We were 53%. We were 21. We were 53% in the red zone. We're talking about touchdowns, not scoring like field goals. 6.
We talking about touchdowns.
Get me 6. 22, the Falcons were tied with the Broncos and the L.A. Rams. 55.56% of our red zone journeys inside the 20 ended with a score. That's got to get better. And with all these freaking weapons we added, we want to be top 5 in this category, and that means playoffs.
We should be. What do you guys think? And again, these are numbers that you're always trying to look at and improve in. If you've got the number 1 offense in the league, it's easy if you're Kansas City and come back and you say, all right, well, what else do we need to do better? You can always do something better. But, Mike, we got to get up in the upper echelon of the top-tier teams that are scoring in this league. And if we do, all this conversation about the defense, I don't think it's going to be that much.
I just, I know it's easy for us to bang on the defense because it did seem for years we couldn't get guys off the field. But last year under Dean Pease, you were in every game. The only game where the defense just got completely spanked was Cincinnati.
Yep.
And that's where the corners also got knocked out, so it was just a field day for Burrow and company. Even the Carolina game, that wacky goofball game we talked about when they probably should have gone to Ridder, it was a 1-possession game late. They had you in almost every game. So I know that that was a defense with a bunch of guys, let's be honest, that are a bunch of 1-year contracts, but 1 year because they were dirt cheap. Now you've got guys that are established players. Some guys near the end of their career. Yes, I get that. But dudes also in their prime, like Caden Ellis and Anyamata. These guys are going to be better. It's going to be better.
They are. They're going to be better.
And if it isn't better, then something's really wrong with Ryan Nielsen's scheme.
Yeah, I agree, Mike. I want to see what it looks like. I don't think it's going to be that far removed from what we saw with Dean Pease, but I think the players are better across the board. I just think, Grady was talking about this. Everybody looks to Grady because he's been here. And I don't know if you guys remember this. After the season was over last year when he was interviewed, and he said, same old, same blank, different year. He's fed up. And then they had a conversation with him. Like, we're going to fix this. We're going to go out and get you help. And they did. So he's talking about the veteran guys, whether it's Calais Campbell or Caden Ellis, Mike. I want guys that have done it.
Right.
I just do. Like, everybody talks about experience, and sometimes it's overrated. Maybe it is, but not in football. Like, I need guys who have done it, made plays, Mike, have had many snaps, know what it looks like. Young guys, it takes a minute sometimes for them to get it, and sometimes it doesn't. If guys click immediately, they turn into stars. But other guys, we've been talking about the Ebikades of the world, and some of these other guys that we feel like are going to be really good players, it might just take a minute. But in the meantime, I got some other guys that I can count on.
Right. And that's where this year, I think, goes two ways. Certainly, we feel that the rising tide, right? If you're Grady Jarrett, and I know for years Grady would get mad because when the contract thing came up, I just thought he's a better fit in a 4-3, and this is still 3-4-ish. But now you've got guys on Grady can look to either side, and there's a real bad dude. You can't say that the last couple of years, especially the last time this team had a defense that had depth was 17. After that, they were decimated with injuries in 18. And again, it was how Carl went. It was a tale of two meeting rooms. One year the offense was good, the next year that year the defense sucked, and vice versa. This year, guys, it comes down to Ritter. Ritter's going to make some, again, hopefully he doesn't make a lot of mistakes because this defense, I got to tell you, if they're doing the job, going to be getting you off the field. The game plan is going to be running that football. They're going to have to, Carl, come up and try to stop the run, and then boom, get some play action. All things should open up. On paper, the plan is there.
Yeah.
The only thing that is limiting people, and we come back to this every time you and I talk about, is they just don't trust Ritter. And I get it. I understand it, but we already laid it out there. Arthur does. I think Arthur's got a little more experience with the dude.
There are going to be games where we may have ran the football, I don't want to say excessively, because you do what you have to do to win games. But then the next week, teams are going to gear up for that and be like, oh, we got to stop the run, and we got to let Ritter play. We got to let him throw the ball. We got, and that's the part that I need to see, Mike. We got to let him play. Like, there are going to be games. The season's just too long, guys. These defenses are too complex. Defensive coordinators are going to start taking away stuff once they start to see what's going on with us. This is where your quarterback play comes in. I got to see, Mike, when they say, hey, you're not running the football like we thought we would today. Somebody's going to slow us down. As good as this offensive line may be, especially coming off of last year, I think we were third in rushing in the league. But those are the games where we need to see him elevate and make these guys better. Putting the ball in places where guys can get it and making guys better. Is he capable of that? And I think that's really the question for me.
And we were having some fun. Some of the stuff was tongue-in-cheek on Friday's show. I got a lot of people hit me up on Twitter on the text line when I kept saying, game manager.
No! No!
But I do think there's going to be a little bit of game management here until Arthur feels really comfortable. But
I want to see him play.
On the flip side, if all goes well with all the weapons we've added, maybe we look a little bit, I mentioned this on Friday. Josh McDaniels, you're a Patriots fantasy football owner. You never knew what you're getting week in, week out. Playing to your strengths versus the other team, et cetera. And one day they'd be throwing it a lot, one day they'd be running it. But again, guy just hit me up on text. So you don't believe in Ritter? I just don't have enough to know what Ritter is. I want to believe, right? We all do.
Yeah.
And I know that I laid it out. Arthur knows best because he's working with this guy all season long. He believes in him. We just got to prove. We got to see a little more proof ourselves, I suppose. In the regular season.
When he starts hitting guys for touchdowns and we start moving the football and we're scoring 30 a game, okay, that the bar for me is like 27 at the least with this offense.
24 points is the problem. We don't get to 24 on this team. We got to get there and then more. 28. Yes,
all right.
Please.
So, but when we start doing that, this is going to fade, guys, and then it becomes well. How do teams try to stop us? RJ says, put them up. See Dukes. He says, I feel like our defense is definitely going to be better, but it still comes down to Ritter no matter what. If he doesn't work out, Arthur Smith's on the hot seat.
Yeah, that's a given. Now, and if he doesn't work out, then we're going to go grab a ice-cold Taylor Heineke.
Well, that's true, too. But if that happens, that means this thing's gone terribly wrong. Yeah. And I don't think that's going to happen.